All right. Oh, wow. We are live. That went live quickly today. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We've got a great topic, and Dr. Hall back with us again today. We're going to talk about the 7 stages of success, the formula that we put together over the last, couple decades here, now in large part with Dr. Hall. And this is going to come on the heels of helping you develop your personalized business plan. So this is post business plan development and how you're going to execute on all that. So we're going to rapid fire through all 7 of these today. Obviously, we could get into the nitty gritty in person with you at a later date if you'd like, but we're going to cover, focus, and we're going to, where your focus is at, what's your why, the systems to manage and monitor your relationships, how to develop your skills, just a number of things. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. We'll bring Dr. Hall on and introduce him. Dr. Hall is a business psychologist and executive coach. He's a public speaker and a multi-time author. And my favorite aspect is helping us to understand from the biology, neurology side of things, how we work and how to execute on the things that we talk about. How you doing today, Dr. Hall?
I am well. I'm grateful to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited about this one. We've talked about this briefly a couple of times, but I'm really excited to kind of dig into the meat here and get your thoughts on,
Yeah.
um, because you've worked with successful people for decades now, and you hopefully seen these stages and how they work and
Yes.
don't work.
Yeah.
So, well, very good. Well, let's just do a couple of small housekeeping items here real quick before we jump in. My name is Jerod Lee. I'm the associate broker and team lead here at My Home Connection, also known as MHC Realty. Our sponsor for today is the perfect real estate business. Again, in large part developed with Dr. Hall. Just trying to bring the tried and true things that you need to bring into your real estate business, along with a mindset focus that we are heavily focused on these days, and then a number of other tools and skills that we can help bring to bear to build your real estate business. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us for a no obligation consultation. We'd love to see how we can help. So, Dr. Hall, um, we develop business plans, and obviously that kind of helps us narrow in what it is we're doing. But it seems like a lot of times we're kind of caught up or lost in how we actually execute on those plans, kind of what the stages are, or the the things that we should incorporate into our business to properly execute on that business plan. Is that kind of what you've seen in your
I
experience?
think I think yes, absolutely. Human beings are very easily distracted, and no matter how good your business plan is, if you don't execute on your plan, if you don't actually do it, it was a nice exercise on a retreat with a consultant, but it never turns into anything. So it
Yeah.
really is about every day changing your behavior so that you follow through with what you're intending.
I've helped agents develop their business plan, and then tried to catch up with them, you know, at a logical interview, 3 months, 6 months, and I'm not coaching or mentoring them. I just help them develop the plan,
Mhm.
and I'm like, okay, this is a rhetorical question because I don't want to make you feel bad, but how recently have you touched your business plan? And they all kind of, you
Yeah,
know, put their head down. And it's just a thing, right? Because time passes by so fast, and really you've got this plan with all these ideas, but now how does the rubber meet the road, I think is kind of what we're trying to get to today.
absolutely. Absolutely. If you don't review your plan and if you don't translate that plan into behavior that you're going to do every day, then it'll never get done. I mean,
Yeah.
it's fun to dream about.
Yeah.
It's like saying, I'm going to build a patio on the back of my house, and I've got designs all set up, but I haven't bought any lumber and I haven't bought any screws,
I got any tools? Yeah.
and I don't have any tools. Right?
So we're going to talk about the tools. Yeah. We've done
Yes.
the business plan, which is the design of your back patio.
Yeah.
Now we're going to get the tools and then how to execute on this is where we're at.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, this one, and I've tried to, put them in order. I'm actually going to pop up a screen share here. This is a graphical version of what I just had up. And we'll kind of bounce back and forth. But the first one, I think, probably in almost every business, but certainly in a service-based business, uh, I think the most important is what's your priority? Is your focus on you or is your focus on your client? So I put in this graphic here. Do you have a servant's heart? I put on here, what is the right focus? And let me actually, before I go there, sorry for bouncing back and forth here a lot, but you know, in a the ultimate goal, at least in my opinion, and what I've seen work is repeat and referral business. If you are not trying to develop clients that are loyal to you, that refer you business at the drop of a hat, you've fallen short. So you're not only helping them buy a house, but you're cementing why it is that they would absolutely come to you again or send their friends and family to you. So this first one, in my opinion, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, is, I don't know how you would, with the selfish focus on your business, build that kind of loyal customer base.
Well, maybe the first thing we should do is distinguish selfish versus self-interested. Now,
Okay.
now selfish, in these are my definitions, so you don't have to agree with them. But in my definition, selfish is I'm going to get what's best for me at your expense. So it doesn't matter what happens to you. Self-interested is I'm going to do things that benefit me and benefit you. And that's the only way you can make things work. So if you have a servant's heart, it is to help the other person, and the added benefit is that you gain referral business back. It takes more effort. It may not be the quickest way to build business, but it is the most effective way.
Yeah.
And so if anybody tells you, "Oh, well, I just do this for the other people," well, so you do it as a charity? No, you do this in order to build the right kind of business. That referral business where people feel taken care of, the customer service is high. They'll tell their friends and family, and what they act as a filter to filter out the bad clients. So if you offer high quality service to people, serving their best needs, they'll send you their friends and family, not their enemies.
Yeah. Yeah. I usually stay away from typical sales quotes, but at some points there's some wisdom in it, but it's um, clients don't care what you know until you know that you care. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you can spout off a whole bunch of things that make you sound really good at what you're doing. And if you're just rambling, that gets old. And really what the clients want to know is, okay, I'll give you credit for knowing a lot, but if I don't feel like you're watching out for my objectives, my personal best interest, then I'm kind of questioning whether I should be working with you, because when the rubber meets the road and things come up, where are you going to land on that as my agent?
Yes. Um, those people who are great at selling themselves succeed in the short run, but they evaporate very quickly. And then they have to move to a different town because they burned all their bridges.
Yeah.
I have met so many people in the sales space who the best thing they are at selling, the thing that they sell best is themselves.
Hmm.
They're awful at their job. And if you look at their work history, they go from place to place to place to place. The really consummate sales professionals, the ones who have great longevity and great success, they're not selling themselves. They're a little bit aw shucks, but they're really great at serving people. And all the great sales professionals that I've worked with really focus on service, not sales.
Yeah. One of my favorites is God created you with two ears and one mouth, so you listen twice as much as you talk. And man, that really, if you're just yammering, and you're not listening, I think it just says a lot. It's not the definitive identification of somebody that's self-serving, but it's I think for people that have your best interest, they've got to listen to you so they understand what it is that
Right.
you want to accomplish. So anyway, I think that's a that's either a go no go in certainly in real estate and a lot of businesses. In my opinion, if you really search your heart and you do not feel that you are going to serve people uh, to the extent where they're going to highly appreciate that you care about them, I'd say go. I don't know. This is probably kind of harsh, but I'd almost say go find something else to do because, like you said, it's just going to be uh, either another town or another career because
Right. Right.
you're going to
I
turn
mean,
through your clients.
you're just going to churn and burn, and the world is full of those people, and everyone who's been consistent in their career and is a great sales professional. It doesn't matter what you're selling. Um, you have longevity, and you've seen those people come and go, and they'll be a flash in the pan. They'll be the rock star for the week with great marketing, great advertising, but they won't last. And
Yeah. Yeah, it's I don't want to derail too much, so I'll try to stop it somewhat short. But this whole kind of lead generation culture we're in, specifically in real estate, it gives, I think, agents a false impression that there's always going to be that lead coming your way. And I'm actually going to have, I don't know, some kind of conversation, webinar session about uh, the danger of buying leads and always thinking that they're just going to be forever coming. One is if you're not generating the leads, you have no control over the leads. Even if the leads keep coming, they never get less expensive in my experience. And it's a no
and what's
win.
the quality of the lead?
Oh,
I
they're
mean,
all over the map. Yeah.
right? Is this a person you want to work with? And so great sales professionals, the consummate sales professionals, are as picky about the people they work with as
Amen.
their desire to get more clients.
Yeah, that's spot on. And I'm glad I did go down that path because it brings up a really good point is when you have referral business to you, well, repeat or referral business, these are people you like, probably, right? Because otherwise you kind of just faded off into the background, let them do their thing because they weren't going to be the kind of client you wanted. But birds of a feather flock together,
Yeah.
a year, 2, 3 years later, the people that you've befriended that you really know and care about are sending you like-minded, like-hearted people. And you're like, this is going to be, a great experience because these are likely great people.
Right, right. And the further you get in your professional career, the more discriminating you are about the kinds of people you want to work with because you realize, oh, if I'm desperate for this business, it's um, as one of my professors said, trouble in the beginning, trouble all the way through.
Yep.
And so you start to find clients or customers that really are your speed. They really do connect well with you and you with them, and you have similar enough worldviews that nobody's really surprised and nobody's really upset.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, we could probably talk a whole episode about this one, but we'll kind of fast track this here. Um, the next one actually kind of tie to the why. So actually, let me go to the screen share here. But what's your why? I put determines your intensity, and I don't like that 100%. But my concept there is if your why is, hey, I'm just kind of playing around, I'm just kind of, doing it on the side, I'm not really into it. I think it comes across. I think your prospective clients know that. But if your why is, hey, I want to serve people, again, back to the first stage, um, and that's I'm really passionate about doing that. They sense that they're like, oh, this person is not only asking the question, but they're really engaged, and they're asking profound questions, not just cursory questions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if your why is aligned with serving people, and the really the purpose for why you're doing your job. Um, it, Everybody does jobs to make money, and that's necessary, but it's not sufficient to be a great consummate professional. So you have to have something more than just to make a buck, and that making a buck is absolutely a legitimate part of any job, but it's not enough. I'll give you an example. I had a realtor once, and her only goal for being a part of our sales transaction was to fund her move out of the state.
You're not looking to take care of me?
Yeah, we didn't feel the love. So it's important that you have something more than that, because if you're only motivated to earn money to get away, it shows. It shows
Yeah.
in the negotiation. It shows in the follow through. It shows in everything. And it works for a transaction, but it doesn't work for a career.
Yeah, yeah, and the example that I thought of earlier that I think is appropriate now is we have a tendency in real estate to abdicate some of our responsibilities, like get a transaction coordinator so you can do more volume, and then some people like, oh, that means I got to spend less time with the clients, and that's a no-no. I mean, in my opinion, experience, I look for every opportunity to interact with my clients because I want, one, I want to make sure it gets done right. And two, it's an opportunity to talk with people that I care about and am genuinely trying to help. Inspections, one of them. The inspectors, some of them that I've been working with lately, literally tell me I'm the only agent that shows up at the inspection, and boggles my brain.
What That's the difference between someone who's a pro and someone who's an amateur. I mean, people can get the business cards and get the signs and get the title, but that doesn't make them a pro. A pro is how you show up and you do your work every day. And part of it, part of your why has to be, how do I improve? How do I become better at my craft or my trade or my profession? It doesn't really matter. But that's almost always part of the why for people who are really consummate pros.
Well, the why of, if it is money based, financial based, income based, like you said, then that inspection could look like a distraction for getting other business,
Oh
right?
yeah,
I
yeah,
got to spend, and for me, I don't, guys, agents, don't mishear me. I don't spend the full 2 hours there. I always recommend that we do a post inspection wrap up. It's the last 15, 20, 30 minutes of the inspection. We summarize what the inspector found because we don't want to disturb them those 2 hours anyway. But just verbally talk to the inspector and, download about what their findings were. We're going to get the inspection report later and we'll talk about that more. But I guess, what I'm saying is, if you're really watching out for their best interest, you really want to make sure that house is not, a lemon or a turd or, something
right.
that they're really going to be disappointed in. And then, not being there, being absent for that big of a activity within the transaction, I think sends a massive signal in my mind to your clients that, wow, you can't even be present for that. So when it comes to, I'm going to buy a house later, or I've got a coworker that needs an agent, are you going to get that business? I don't, I don't know.
Uh, Maybe not.
Well, why would they use you, right? I'll go find another mediocre agent.
Right, right.
That's,
Mediocre agents are very easy to find.
yeah,
If the quality of sales professionals falls along the standard distribution, the top the top 10% of agents, um, you know, well, I mean, it's just, you're better than 90% of the rest of the population. I mean, you're so hard to find, that people will seek you out if they're looking for a good experience.
yeah,
And
yeah,
and then you as a sales professional can become more discriminating about the kinds of clients that you want to work with.
yeah. Yeah, and there are technology platforms and systems that you should build in to make the
Sure.
experience good. So don't mishear me, people that are listening or watching the episode. They're interjecting technology can be helpful, and number three is just that thing. So CRM, right? Customer relationship management. How do I manage my relationship, right? We should by now have graduated out of having a bunch of contacts in my phone, and that's how I keep track of my clients. I'm hoping that this one's a little bit of a logical. Hey, have a system that you build these relationships and you bring them into a system or a platform where you can stay in touch with them, providing them value. Don't pelt them with needless,
Right.
useless information and frustrate them. But you know, where are they at in the buying process? Match their pace, disposition them correctly, send them the information that's relevant and pertinent to that, not just any smart campaign within your CRM system. Literally, assign them to a smart campaign or whatever your CRM calls it that is providing them good, helpful, useful information. Do the touches that you need electronically because it's somewhat free. It's built into your system. But anyway, I've seen all too many times where agents don't have a good system or best practices. And I don't mean just a platform, but I try to do quarterly client appreciation parties, events. Um, and that's part of my relationship management. It's a best practice. It's thank you guys for, honoring me with your business or referring me business. So, oops, let me go. Did Uh, no, I'm sorry. It's the third one here. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
whatever that looks like, have it defined and follow that, refine and tweak.
Yeah, and you focused on an electronic system, but that electronic system is there to remind you to do things that are not electronic. So yeah, emails, texts, all those are fine, and phone calls, personal notes, handwritten notes, all of those matter.
Yeah. Yeah. So they don't feel like, oh, I'm just another person that's in his database that I haven't, he doesn't even know I'm in here until I
Right.
favorite a home or run a mortgage calculator and pop up on a radar. Like, you better be in touch with them before they just show up on your radar like that, because they're gonna
Right.
sense that that was disingenuous.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, often attributed to Groucho Marx is this line that sincerity is the key. If you can fake that, you've got it made. Um, so I mean, it really is important to be sincere, to be earnest about what you're doing, to mean it, because
Yeah.
people can sense that. They can figure it out.
Yeah. I think especially these days, they've been kind of railroaded, the whole, did I master objection handling and did I, do all these, I think a lot of sales techniques got perverted over the years. It's yes, you have to overcome objectives because people have questions and concerns. So and speak to that, but don't feel like I'm just going to pound them into the ground until they have no more concerns or questions and I win.
This goes back to motive. This
Yeah.
goes back to what's your focus. Are you there to serve or are you there to win? And people know it. People know if they're a commodity to you or if you view them as a person. So they can feel it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this, hopefully, this is relatively short lived, but I think it's important. I was talking to an agent the other day, and he's been in the industry a long time as well. And we brought up I don't know, this is divulging probably a little bit too much to clients, but if they're listening, the, oh, this is going to be harsh. One of the things that I've heard agents say is buyers are liars. And that
Doesn't everybody know that that's what realtors say?
well, I don't know. Maybe they do now if they're listening to this, sure. But what I said to this agent was, I said, in my opinion, it's you haven't opened up enough of a genuine and sincere communication between your clients for them to tell you how they feel or help them understand how they feel. Because maybe they don't know exactly. They're just kind of in a high anxiety position and they don't really know. So you haven't developed yourself as what you term as a resonant leader and help them walk through that. Or just like everybody else, their mind changed, right? They had this big laundry list of everything they needed to buy a house, and now it's starting to shift and change, and the agents made them feel uncomfortable in sharing that. that,
Yeah, I, I mean, it work. The phrase works because it rhymes, but the reality is that human beings are very illogical decision makers. We are not rational decision makers. We're rationalizing, and
Mhm.
so we very often come to decisions in non-rational ways, and and so sometimes people think they know what they want until they see something and it sparks in them some emotion or some, and I'm going to use this word advisedly, some non-conscious knowing. And there's a lot of our brain that is both emotionally deciding and there's lots of decisions we make that are non-conscious, that are valid, good decisions. So if we ask somebody to come up with a pros and cons list, that's one way of knowing, but it completely rules out the non-conscious and the emotional.
Yeah.
And both of those factors combined with the logical reasoning all factor into good decision making. So good sales professionals are able to assess and pull out from their clients those other things. You know, what are you sensing? How does this feel? What are you noticing? You know, ask questions that are not, well, do you like it? What, that yes, no,
A
maybe.
renter likes house. Whoa, go figure. Of course they
Yeah.
like it.
So so part of it is, as you mentioned earlier, listen more than you talk, ask questions, try to learn and discover, and rather than assume that they're crazy irrational people, recognize that's people. I mean, they're all irrational,
Yeah. Yeah.
and just assume, okay, this is just part of the process.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know that we've had this conversation before, but I think it kind of just makes sense. But warrants being said is it seems like the more that you care, the better questions you can ask with a better response from your client, right? Because
Uh,
if you're really trying to dig in and come up with that profound question, you've really got to care. If you care a little bit, you get kind of a superficial question with a superficial
mhm.
answer. But if you just have developed that transparent, genuine relationship with them, you can ask some things that might be difficult to ask, but you've earned the opportunity to ask that. Now you're going to get a real answer, and you're like, okay, now I can really focus in on that.
Yes, and that's a person who is very skilled at observing and putting themselves in the place of their client or their customer. They're trying to understand, and so they're on high alert to understand clearly what's driving that person.
Mm. Yeah, love it. Well, I bounced to the next screen to make sure I drive
Yep.
myself.
Okay, we
Keep
keep on track.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So the next one in this here, I'll just kind of show you on the screen here is, the skill level. You're going to develop your skills. Some of these obviously you should be doing these in parallel, but I can't graphically display them in parallel. But if you've evaluated that your heart's in the right place, you understand your why and what's going to drive you on a daily basis. You've got a system to manage the people and the relationships that you develop over time. Okay, now you got to be good at what you do, right? Because yes,
Mhm.
they appreciate that you care about them, but if they feel like you don't know what you're doing, especially buying a couple $100,000, you know, piece of property, are they going to stick with you?
Yeah, and the great sales professionals I know are constantly learning, growing, and they observe people that they admire who are ahead of them in the game and say, "Oh, okay." Rather than have envy and say, "Oh, I wish it must be nice." They're so successful. Look at what you admire and try to imitate it, rather than resent the person for having that ability. And
Yeah.
and so the great sales professionals I know are constantly going to places to learn. One of them said, I skipped a national sales conference for my business, and it was the stupidest thing I ever did
Mm.
because I get so many great ideas from my fellow professionals,
Yeah. Yeah.
and,
People
and
that have
so
leveled up.
yeah, and if you're running against Olympians, you're going to get faster. Even if they're always faster than you will get better. So
Right.
find Olympians to run with.
Yeah. Yeah. I do want to put a plug in for for our program. We do develop these episodes talking specifically about questions that buyers and sellers are going to have that our agents benefit from. So, yes, you can come to myself on the real estate side and yourself on the, mindset, uh, you know, side. But as far as like real helpful, practical skill development, we have podcast series you could just binge. And,
Yeah.
we're going to actually say, what a buyer and a seller, what questions they're going to ask, what the answer to that is. And, if you can't stay one step ahead of your client, you're probably not going to keep your client.
Well, and it isn't being smarter than your client. It's trying to understand them well enough that you can anticipate what they're thinking and feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So we're developing our skills. That's an ongoing thing. Now we have to kind of revisit that business plan and say, okay, um, this is a personal development plan, right? A personalized development business plan for you. How are you wired? How do you think? What are you excited about? What does your schedule allow for? Now, let's focus on that. In real estate, I always say there's more than one way to skin a cat, which I probably got to change because, anyway,
I
but
love cats, but I don't know why you wouldn't say that. I have
okay,
a cat. I would never skin my cat, but
uh,
it's
I got permission.
why wouldn't you say that?
Yeah, I don't know. Everybody's all sensitive these days, so sometimes I'm overly cautious. But my point is, we're the jack of all trades, right? Master of none. We're the chief cook and bottle washer. We get to do all this stuff. But if you're not focused on what you said you're going to do on your plan and how you're going to do in your plan, and you're just gravitating towards the things you kind of prefer to do instead of should be doing, you're just never getting traction.
I would say distractibility and things that come through our computers and our phones, they keep us from being focused. And I read a book once called Daily Rituals, and it was it was the the journals of world class performers, and it just followed what people did every day. All these great composers and musicians and artists and scientists and world leaders, and how did they spend each day. And
Mm.
what I determined is that these world class people spent about 2 hours a day in concentrated effort on their job. And then there was correspondence like email, and then there were phone calls and visitors and meetings like we all have. But if you spend 2 hours a day, every day, focused on the most important thing, you can become world class.
Yeah, not 8 hours a day or 10 hours a day that some
You know,
people would mislead
no,
you to do.
because we all have stuff. We all have, in this day and age, we all have email. We have texting. We have voicemail. We have meetings. We have Zoom meetings. We all have those things, and they had them 100 years ago. All done by paper,
Hmm.
rather than electronically. But if we look at successful world-class people, 2 hours of concentrated time every day, that's what can make you world-class. So just focus that way.
Yeah. So if I'm going to go back to the personalized business plan. So we've helped you determine you're going to go chase work doing these things because of all the things that I just mentioned earlier. And now we're going to focus on the things that you've already determined you like to do and are good at. So now flow, right? We've had at least a couple of discussions around that
Sure.
in the past, and I would imagine if it wasn't personalized and you never focused, how do you get into flow, and how do you take advantage of that? Just that. How do you describe that, Dr. Hall? That just significant amount of energy that gets created while you're in flow.
How do I describe it? It's a kind of a euphoric feeling of concentrated problem solving. It's really fun, and once you've experienced it, once you're in that zone, you want it again. And so world-class performers set up their environment so that it's easier and easier to get into that zone every day or
Mhm.
nearly every day.
So contrary to that, if you picked up somebody else's business plan or coaching program or whatever that really isn't mapped to who you are or what you like to do, it's got to be pretty hard to get into flow, right? Because you're fighting, like I don't really want to do it.
What? Right. What you're trying to do is wear somebody else's clothes, and they just don't fit quite right.
Yeah, 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 you're a big guy in a small person's outfit.
Fat guy in a little suit in a
The
little coat.
visual was funny.
To,
Sorry.
to quote Tommy Boy,
Yeah, yeah. Say, how do you put that again? A fat guy in a business suit, or what do you
fat
say?
guy in a little coat. It's a bit from Tommy Boy
That's
with
right.
Chris Farley and David Spade. I mean, Chris Farley's trying to put on David Spade's coat. It's just not going to work.
Yeah, there you go. I love it. I love it. Okay, so now you personalized plan, focus on what you need to do. Now, if you do it sporadically, once a week, once every couple weeks, once every couple months, it's there's no, well, I don't know about no, but the degree of likelihood of building some momentum, getting traction is pretty difficult. So you got to be consistent with whatever it is you plan to do. And I would say time blocking is a good way to do that.
Exactly. Time blocking is a key thing, and I would time blocking works only if you understand your attention and energy management. You can block out 2 hours of time, but if it's in a time of day when you're out of juice, when you've got no energy, you've got no attention, you don't get anything done. So it's important that you monitor your energy and attention throughout the day and make sure that you're blocking time to do the most important things during the time of day when you have the most energy.
Is that why they say eat the biggest frog first? Eat that.
Eat the frog first thing, right? Is do the hardest thing first. You know, that has value unless the frog you're going to eat is answering 200 emails, and then
Mm.
you're using your best, most important time to do correspondence. And correspondence, while important, is not the best and highest use of your productive time.
So they're
And
saying take the energy that you have and knock out things that are going to take a lot of energy. But what you can't do is give all your energy to that when a good chunk of your energy should be in that flow state, that activity or activities that put you in that flow state that begets that
yeah,
maximum effort.
right. And again, we all have correspondence. We all have email to answer. We all have phone calls to answer. But if you use all your best time of day with your most energy doing that, then at the end of the day, between 3 and 5 o'clock, when you're spent, then you don't have any juice to do the most important productive activities.
Yeah, yeah, love it, love it. Um, so now we're down to let me show the graphic here, kind of the work effort, right? And I want to set the stage a little bit here, specifically for real estate. It I call it the runway. So if you're dropping into real estate and you have a 3 month runway to start building an income, that that effort better be a lot, right? I mean, you're putting in a lot of hours every day to get off the ground. Otherwise, that plane's going to crash into whatever's at the end of that runway.
Yeah,
Versus, hey, you know what? I've got the luxury of my significant other works. We've got an income coming in.
sure.
Typical businesses. A year if you're lucky, 2 years if you're realistic, 3 years. I'll do the 3 year thing. So now the amount of hours you got to put in for that type of runway is much different than, hey, I got a
Right.
family to feed and I got to pay. I got to have a paycheck in 3 months.
Right. And you're going to work really different if you've got a 3 month versus a 3 year runway. Yeah.
And what's interesting about that analogy is it goes back to your why, right? If you're fixated on the financial side of your why, which in some cases you can't help but avoid, like sometimes you're just
You got to make a buck. Yeah, and you got to pay your bills.
yeah, your why is actually you got to make a buck, but you're actually trying to survive. So
Yeah.
that's a big why. But let's assume that it isn't, hey, I'm going to be swamped financially. Uh, I can actually revisit my why over time. And the other thing I wanted to mention, hopefully it'll dovetail into this, is I think your why can change, correct? So if you got a good why and it's keeping you focused and it's keeping you consistent, and then life kind of changes a little bit, revisit your why because it might have shifted and now things don't quite seem to be as desirable or as fun or a sense of achievement as it once was.
Yes. If you there's a guy I respect immensely named Dan Sullivan, and he's got a business called Strategic Coach, and he talks about the four freedoms. The first of which is freedom of money. And before you have freedom of money, you're working to make a buck. So your why is I got to make a buck. Once you make a certain amount of money, then you have freedom of time, and
Mm,
you can then spend time differently. You can hire people to do things that you used to do yourself because you couldn't afford that. And once you have freedom of time, then you have freedom of purpose. And that's when your why changes. When it was like, oh, I got to do this in order to pay the bills. Okay, well now the bills are paid. Why am I doing this?
yeah.
And that's the third freedom. And the fourth freedom is freedom of relationships. Once you get
Mm,
really clear on your purpose, then you start to attract different kinds of people to you.
yeah. Which that freedom is amazing because then you're not,
Yeah.
you're not having the conversation of, oh, I got to help these people out again. The guy is such a jerk or blah, 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 or whatever, rude, or it's like, hey, if you don't want to work with them, don't work with them.
Don't work with them, right?
Yeah.
You can be a little bit more discriminating about your customer or your clients. And that
Yeah.
doesn't mean just because they're not a good fit for you doesn't mean they're not a good fit for somebody. So
Right.
it's
Right.
important not to think, oh, these people are losers. No, they're not losers. They're just not right for you.
Yeah. Yeah. There's another thing that popped into my head the other day, and man, I hope it fits into what we're talking about and that I can articulate it fairly well. Um, you know what? I probably won't be able to make it fit in here, but we'll have it for another discussion. But remind me, different personalities for different
Sure.
people,
Sure.
because I think there's a lot to be said for that. Um, so just to kind of review, you know, this the seven stages here. Um, again, I think it's important to constantly revisit. Am I doing the things I need to do with this formula to achieve, what was in my business plan, and ultimately what my why is? You know,
Mhm.
am I maintaining that good servant's heart? Am I listening to people, or am I distracted because my life is, in a little bit of a turmoil right now? Did my why shift and I kind of don't like what I'm doing anymore because it shifted and I didn't monitor it?
Mhm.
Am I watching that customer relationship management platform to see, that people are being reached out to, that are receiving valuable information? Is my skill level growing so that I have higher degree of confidence, right? Uh, you know, uh, uh, Activity and clients and production begets confidence, right? The more I do, the better the more confident I am, which then gets shared to my clients.
Right.
Uh, um, then, am I focusing on the things that I need to further my business plan to meet my objectives, and am I doing that consistently? And then, by the way, because we're in real estate, am I putting in the work effort that I need, right? Because we're not in corporate America. We don't have an employer breathing down our neck, uh, telling us what to do. This is on us.
Mhm.
So check all those things. Anyway, I just want to do a quick summary again. Did you have any
Yep.
other thoughts as I was summarizing that?
Well, I just, your last one, which is necessary effort. There are people who will lie to you and say you don't have to work hard. Yeah, you do. One of the key components of successful people is that they have drive, they have initiative, they have agency, and they just get after it. They like to work. Um,
I I hope I didn't interrupt you there, but I'm really curious on this point. The whole saying, "If you like what you're doing, you don't work a day in your life." I don't think that's contradictory with you don't have to work. I think for people that like what they're doing, they could blow through a 10, 12, 14-hour day and not feel like they really work. But man, like you put me on assembly line for 2 hours and I'll feel like I worked a week.
Sure, sure. I think if you find work that you love, you'll never work a day in your life. That's true for the flow parts of our work. But nobody, and I mean nobody, has work that's nothing but flow.
Good point.
If you've got expense reports to fill out, you've got taxes to do. None of that's. I mean, maybe there are people who just love to do taxes.
I'm not it.
I'm not one of them. But there's always something that provides more resistance to your effort. And I'm one of those people who's really, really fortunate that I do have work that I love. And there's parts of my work that are more drudgery than others. And you just accept that, okay, that's just a part of life. And if you have this dream that it'll be nothing but yachts and Maseratis and champagne parties, I mean, that's a fun fantasy, but nobody's life is really like that.
Right, right. Well, we determined, I think it was in our last episode, that even if you get to that point, what did you call it? Habituality or where you just kind of get numb?
Yeah, habituation. It
Habituation,
just
thank you.
becomes part of the normal. Yeah, but I
Yeah,
mean, one of my favorite examples are musicians. I mean, musicians who are really, really great, they practice all the time, and if they're a guitarist, they practice till their fingers bleed. Well, okay, that's work.
yeah,
Now they may enjoy it, but it is effortful, and they get after it.
yeah, yeah. I love it. I love it. Well, I think that's a great place to wrap up our episode. But as always, let's make sure that the folks know how to get in touch with you and what resources you have.
Yeah, probably the best way to get in touch with me is my website, drrogerhall.com, drrogerhall.com. On there, you can find out about my online courses. You can find out about my books. And if you're of the mind, you can find out about working with me.
Awesome. And then you got a quiz now that folks can take.
Yeah, I mean, the Freak Out quiz, if you want to find out how you approach things that you're afraid of, that's one way to get started.
Nice. Very good. All right. Well, Dr. Hall, your insights always welcome and appreciated. I'll thank our viewers and listeners for tuning in today. I hope you took a lot out of this conversation. If you want to talk again specifically, how you can apply these to your business, we'd love to have a conversation with you. But other than that, I'll wish everybody a blessed one. Take care.
Thank you.